Just moments ago, the news for Vin Diesel has gone from bad to worse as his career now hangs by a thread. The devastating details of the lawsuit filed by his former assistant are front and center, and with a jury trial now officially on the calendar, this really could be the end of the road for the Fast and Furious star. For decades, Vin Diesel hasn't just been an actor. He's a global brand. He's the face of one of the most successful movie franchises in history. A man who built an entire empire on one simple concept: family. But today, that empire is being rocked by a seismic shockwave, an event that threatens to bring the whole thing crashing down. The allegations are incredibly serious, the stakes are impossibly high, and the clock is ticking towards a courtroom showdown that could rewrite his legacy forever. What we're about to break down is a story that's been brewing in courtrooms and in the shadows of Hollywood, but has now exploded into the public with stunning force. We're talking about a lawsuit that attacks the very heart of Vin Diesel's public image, painting a picture so dark and so disturbing, it's the complete opposite of the hero figure millions have cheered for on screen. This isn't just a legal fight, it's a potential career implosion. With a jury trial officially scheduled for August 18, 2025, in Los Angeles Superior Court, the countdown has begun. This isn't some distant problem, it is an immediate crisis. We've poured through the court filings, the legal papers, and the latest updates to bring you the full, unfiltered story. What exactly is Vin Diesel accused of? How has his team fought back against these earth-shattering claims? And the biggest question of all, what does this mean for the future of the Fast and Furious saga and the man who's been its undisputed king for over 20 years? Stick around as we unpack the heartbreaking news that has the entire entertainment world holding its breath. To really get the gravity of the situation Vin Diesel is in, we have to rewind the clock, not just to December 2023 when the lawsuit was filed, but all the way back to 2010. The scene was Atlanta, Georgia, during the filming of Fast 5. This was a huge moment for the franchise, the movie that took it from a successful series about cars into a global blockbuster machine. It was during this high-stakes production that a young film school graduate named Asta Jonasson was hired. For her, it was a dream job, working as an assistant to one of the biggest stars on the planet. Her duties were demanding, often needing her to be right by Diesel's side, organizing his life and even, as the lawsuit claims, waiting outside his hotel room to make sure he wasn't photographed with other women, a task that hints at the blurred lines of working so closely with a major celebrity. Her dream job, however, lasted for a shockingly brief time. The lawsuit says she worked for Diesel for only 9 days. But in that short period, an incident is alleged to have happened that would send shockwaves more than a decade later. In December 2023, Asta Jonasson filed a lawsuit in Los Angeles against Vin Diesel, his company One Race Films, and his sister Samantha Vincent, who runs the company. The lawsuit dropped several bombshells, but the most serious one is for sexual battery. The suit alleges that during the Fast 5 shoot, Vin Diesel forced himself on Jonasson in his St. Regis hotel suite. It claims that after a night of entertaining other women, Diesel turned his attention to Jonasson, whose job was to get him out of the room without being seen. It was then, when she was alone with him, that the alleged assault happened. But the lawsuit doesn't stop there. It also includes other serious claims that suggest a system was in place to protect the star at all costs. Jonasson is also suing for wrongful termination. She alleges that just hours after the incident, she got a call from Vin Diesel's sister, Samantha Vincent, firing her. The suit argues this wasn't a coincidence, but a direct act of retaliation. The complaint reads, "It was clear to her that she was being fired because she was no longer useful. Vin Diesel had used her to fulfill his sexual desires and she had resisted his sexual assaults." On top of all that, the suit claims there was a hostile work environment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and negligent supervision. These are huge because they don't just target Vin Diesel, they target the corporate and family structure around him. The claims against One Race Films and Samantha Vincent suggest the plaintiff believes the company and its president either knew about Diesel's alleged behavior, or should have, and failed to protect her, instead participating in a cover-up by firing her. This is a multi-pronged legal assault. It's not just one person's word against another's. It's an accusation against an entire operation, alleging a toxic culture where the powerful are protected and those who say no are thrown away. It's a story of a dream job turning into an alleged nightmare, and the long years of silence that followed before it all came roaring into a court of law. To really understand the career-ending threat this lawsuit represents, we have to go beyond the headlines and look at the specific graphic claims Asta Jonasson is making. This is where the story gets deeply disturbing. The heart of the case is the sexual battery allegation. According to the complaint, the incident unfolded inside Diesel's hotel suite. Jonasson alleges the actor grabbed her, groped her breasts, and kissed her against her will. The lawsuit claims she kept trying to get away from him, repeatedly saying no. The complaint then alleges that Diesel pinned her against a wall, grabbed her hand, and forced it onto his erect penis. According to the filing, he then pulled down his pants and began to masturbate while keeping her trapped. The lawsuit says Jonasson was frozen in a state of shock and unable to move, and that she closed her eyes, scared of angering Vin Diesel, by rejecting him further and trying to dissociate, wishing the assault would end. These aren't vague accusations. They are specific, horrifying claims of a physical violation. The second critical piece is the wrongful termination claim. This is a powerful legal move because it directly links her firing to the alleged assault. Jonasson claims that just hours after she resisted Diesel, she got the call from his sister, Samantha Vincent, telling her she was done. Legally, that timeline is everything. The lawsuit argues she wasn't fired for poor performance, but as a direct result of resisting the assault, essentially to silence her and get rid of a problem. The suit says her self-esteem was demolished, and it was made clear she was being fired for resisting. Then you have the claims about the work environment itself, which broaden the blame beyond just Vin Diesel. The hostile work environment claim argues the workplace was so full of intimidation and ridicule that it became abusive. By firing her after the alleged assault, the suit argues the company basically approved of Diesel's conduct. Negligent. Supervision argues that One Race Films had a duty to keep its employees safe, and that they failed by letting their biggest star allegedly prey on a subordinate. So the big question is, why now? The alleged incident was in 2010, but the lawsuit wasn't filed until late 2023, over 13 years later. That delay is a huge part of this case. Jonasson was able to come forward because of critical changes in California law, specifically, California's Assembly Bill 2777, also known as the Sexual Abuse and Cover-Up Accountability Act. This law created a temporary look-back window, letting survivors of adult sexual assault file civil suits even if the original time limit had expired. Jonasson's lawsuit says she felt empowered to come forward because of the Narendra Me Too and Time's Up movements. It also mentions her fear of speaking out against one of the world's most famous actors, and that she worried it could impact her U.S. citizenship. On top of that, the Federal Speak Out Act, passed in 2022, prevents the use of NDAs in cases of sexual assault, which Jonasson claims she was forced to sign. All of these legal and social changes created the perfect storm that allowed this long-hidden allegation to finally see the light of day. So how do you respond to allegations this devastating? Vin Diesel and his legal team came out swinging with a firm, absolute, and aggressive defense. Their strategy from day one has been clear: complete denial. Within a day of the lawsuit going public, Diesel's high-powered lawyer, Brian Friedman, released a statement that set the tone for everything to come. It said, "Let me be very clear. Vin Diesel categorically denies this claim in its entirety. This wasn't a no comment. It was a forceful rejection of every single thing Asta Jonasson alleged." Friedman's statement also laid out two key parts of their defense. First, he immediately attacked the timing and the accuser's credibility, stating, "This is the first he has ever heard about this more than 13-year-old claim made by a purportedly 9-day employee." By highlighting the 13-year gap and short employment, the defense tried to paint the lawsuit as suspicious and opportunistic, a classic legal tactic. The phrase "purportedly 9-day employee" was a subtle jab, meant to question if she was even really an employee in the first place. Second, Friedman made a very bold promise. There is clear evidence which completely refutes these outlandish allegations. That's a huge statement. It's not just a denial, it's a promise of proof. It signals they believe they have something concrete, documents, witnesses, something that will clear their client. That aggressive stance has never changed. In March 2024, Diesel's lawyers filed a formal request to have the entire case thrown out, denying each and every allegation. They went even further. This lawsuit isn't just a personal crisis for Vin Diesel. It's a direct threat to one of Hollywood's biggest and most profitable franchises. The Fast and Furious saga is more than just movies. It's a global institution, a multi-billion-dollar cash cow for Universal Pictures, and an empire built around Vin Diesel. The question on every executive's and fan's mind is simple: can the franchise survive this? For over 20 years, Vin Diesel hasn't just been the star, he's been the chief architect. As a producer, he has steered the creative direction of these films. He is Dominic Toretto, and Dominic Toretto is Vin Diesel. The core theme of the entire saga, repeated in every movie, is family. Dom is the patriarch, the moral compass, the protector of his crew. These allegations of sexual battery and retaliation slice right through the heart of that carefully built image. How can the man who preaches about protecting family on screen be accused of violating and firing a member of his professional family off screen? That's the glaring contradiction that threatens the entire brand. The timing couldn't possibly be worse. The franchise is driving towards its grand finale, Fast and Furious 11 Traun. Shortly after the lawsuit was filed, Diesel broke his silence on social media, not to address the case, but to talk about the finale. He called it a celebration of the incredible family we've built together, and ended with, "Hope to make you proud." It felt like a deliberate attempt to project business as usual and signal that he's not going anywhere. But can it really be business as usual? Universal Pictures is in a tough spot. They have a franchise that's made billions, with a final chapter planned for 2026. The jury trial in August 2025 is set to explode right in the middle of their planning. The studio has stayed silent, which is standard procedure, but they are no doubt in wait-and-see mode, watching both the court case and the court of public opinion. We've seen this movie before. Think of Johnny Depp in the Fantastic Beasts series. Amid his legal battles, Warner Brothers ultimately asked him to step down, recasting his character. That was a messy and expensive decision, and it sets a clear precedent for the kind of choice Universal might have to make. If public opinion turns sharply against Diesel, or if the trial reveals even more damaging details, the studio might be forced to act. Could they write Dom out of the finale? Delay the film? Try to finish it without him? All of those are creative nightmares and financial catastrophes. To make things even messier, the lawsuit also names Diesel's company, One Race Films, which is Universal's partner in making these movies. This weaves the legal fight directly into the business of the franchise. It's not just the star in the hot seat, it's their producing partner. Ultimately, the fate of Dominic Toretto might not be decided by screenwriters, but by a jury in a Los Angeles courtroom. Their verdict could decide how the final chapter of this saga is told, or if it's told at all. The brand was built on riding or dying for family. The question now is whether the studio and the fans are willing to ride or die with Vin Diesel, no matter what a jury says. The date is locked in, August 18, 2025. On that day, Vin Diesel's reputation will be put in the hands of a jury. But what happens between now and then? A whole lot. It's a period filled with legal battles that happen mostly behind the scenes. First comes discovery. This is basically where both sides are legally forced to show their cards. Asta Jonassen's lawyers can demand documents from Diesel and his company. We're talking emails, text messages, employment records, anything related to her hiring, the alleged incident, and her firing. They'll be hunting for a paper trail that backs up her story. At the same time, Diesel's lawyers will be doing their own digging into Jonassen's history. This is where their claim of having clear evidence that refutes her story will be put to the test. They have to share that evidence during discovery. A huge part of this is depositions. These are out-of-court interviews, but they are under oath. Asta Jonasson will have to sit for hours while Diesel's attorneys grill her, looking for any inconsistency in her story and challenging her memory of events from 15 years ago. And then, the main event of this phase, Vin Diesel will have to sit for his own deposition. Under oath, he will be forced to answer direct questions about the alleged assault and why Jonasson was fired. His sister, Samantha Vincent, will almost certainly be deposed, too. These are incredibly high stakes. One wrong word or an evasive answer can be recorded and used to destroy a person's credibility at trial. Throughout this time, lawyers will file all sorts of legal motions. We already saw this when Diesel's team got 4 claims dismissed. His lawyer has already said he plans to file a motion for summary judgment. That's a legal Hail Mary to get the rest of the case thrown out before a jury ever hears it. It's tough to win, but it's part of their aggressive strategy. Of course, there's always the chance of a settlement. At any point, the two sides can agree to a confidential payout to make it all go away. For Diesel, a settlement would avoid a risky public trial, but it could also look like an admission of guilt, and his lawyer's public statements about having irrefutable evidence and even threatening to sue Jonasson for malicious prosecution make a quiet settlement seem unlikely. If they don't settle, it's on to the jury trial. This is where everything comes out, where witnesses testify, and where a group of ordinary citizens will decide who they believe. For a celebrity like Vin Diesel, whose entire career is based on public image, it is the ultimate gamble. The road to August 2025 is a minefield, and every step brings one side closer to victory, and the other closer to a devastating defeat. You can't understand this case without understanding the Vin Diesel brand. Beyond the courtrooms and movie sets, he has carefully built a very specific public image, and that image now hangs in the balance. He's not just an action hero. He's supposed to be the symbol of a certain kind of man, tough on the outside but deeply loyal to his family and his code. That persona is the foundation of his billion-dollar career, and these allegations could shatter it. The biggest part of his image is being a devoted family man. He's been with his partner Paloma Jimenez since 2007, and they have 3 kids. He often talks about being a protective, loving father, a real-life Dominic Toretto. It's a powerful and relatable image that has helped him connect with fans all over the world. This family-first idea extends to his very public grieving for his friend and co-star, Paul Walker. Diesel has always called Walker his brother. His tributes are legendary. He famously named his youngest daughter Pauline in Walker's honor. He walked Paul Walker's daughter, Meadow, down the aisle at her wedding, stepping in as a surrogate father. These aren't the actions of a typical Hollywood colleague. They reinforce the image of a man who lives by the code he preaches on screen. He even connects with his fans on a personal level, sharing reflective posts on social media about his journey and the family that includes his millions of followers. He's built an image of being an accessible superstar, a regular guy who just happens to be a huge movie star. And that is exactly what makes the allegations in Asta Jonasson's lawsuit so devastating. The complaint paints a picture of a man who is the exact opposite of his public image. A predator who allegedly used his power to violate and then throw away a young employee. It tries to replace the image of the protector with that of a perpetrator. It challenges the very idea of loyalty and honor that the entire Vin Diesel brand is built on. The court of public opinion is often swayed by these kinds of contradictions. When a celebrity's alleged private life is in such stark contrast to their public persona, the public can feel betrayed, like the person they admired was a lie. As Vin Diesel heads to trial, he's not just fighting a legal battle, he's fighting for the soul of his public identity. Will people still see him as Dominic Toretto, the loyal patriarch? Or will these allegations permanently redefine him no matter what a jury decides? So where does this all leave us? We're looking at a legal and personal drama with enormous consequences. You have the story from Asta Jonasson, a detailed, disturbing account of an alleged assault and retaliation, brought to light years later through the Noxern Me Too movement and new laws. And on the other side, you have a complete categorical denial from Vin Diesel, whose legal team claims they have proof he's innocent and that the lawsuit is a lie, while Diesel's team scored a partial victory by getting 4 claims dismissed. The core of the lawsuit, the explosive sexual battery charge, is still very much alive and heading for a jury trial. This isn't just a news story anymore. It's a countdown. That date, August 18th, 2025, is a day of reckoning. For Vin Diesel, everything is on the line. His reputation, his legacy, and the future of the multi-billion-dollar Fast and Furious franchise he built. The very idea of family that defines his career is being put on trial. For Asta Jonasson, this is a fight for justice and to hold a powerful man accountable. The world will be watching. The outcome will send ripples through Hollywood and will become another landmark case in the ongoing conversation about power, consent, and accountability. This story is far from over, and we will be following every single development. To make sure you don't miss our ongoing coverage as we track every step of this trial, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think about these devastating allegations and the potential impact on one of Hollywood's biggest stars? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.